Did you know that the average person loses 720 hours of productivity each year due to distractions? That's 3 weeks of your life gone. For students, procrastination consumes over a third of their daily activities. The cost isn't just time. Studies show that procrastinators earn on average $15,000 to $20,000 less per year. But here's what's really devastating. This pattern leads to higher stress levels, decreased well-being, and a constant feeling of being at war with yourself. I know this battle quite intimately. I used to feel quite scattered, unfocused, and overwhelmed. My mind was my enemy, not my ally. And every day was a struggle between what I knew I should do and what I actually did. Through years of studying ancient wisdom and modern science, I discovered something profound. Our greatest battle isn't with the outside world. It's internally within ourselves. And that's where we have the mental blocks. That's where procrastination originates from. Today, I'm going to be showing the complete system that not only transformed my life, but that's also helped thousands of others break free from this cycle. You'll discover how to overcome the 5 universal obstacles holding you back, a proven framework that combines timeless wisdom and practical modern application, and exact strategies to build unshakable self-discipline. The science is clear. People with high self-control don't just perform better academically, they achieve greater career success, higher salaries, and better life outcomes over decades. And the best part? This isn't about talent or intelligence, IQ, or how well you did in school. Studies show that self-control actually outperforms IQ in predicting success. This isn't just another quick fix video. What I'm sharing requires commitment and work from your side. But if you're ready to stop living in the gap between who you are and what you could be, if you're tired of watching life pass you by while you struggle with procrastination and distraction, then stay with me. Transformation is possible. Research shows that just like a muscle, self-discipline can be strengthened over time. In this video, I'll show you exactly how to build that strength and reclaim control of your life. Let's begin. Before we dive deep into each obstacle, let me share something powerful. Every single person who has achieved greatness has faced these same 5 challenges. 5 universal obstacles are: 1. Uncontrolled desires. 2. Internal resistance. 3. Mental dullness. 4. Restlessness. 5. Self-doubt. What makes these obstacles so fascinating is that they were identified thousands of years ago, yet modern neuroscience confirms their existence in our brain structure. When you understand them, you'll start seeing them everywhere, in your daily struggles, in the people around you, even in the greatest challenges facing our society. Think about your last major goal that fell apart, or that habit you couldn't stick to, or that important task you keep putting off. I guarantee one or more of those obstacles was the reason why. Here's what's extraordinary. Once you learn to recognize these obstacles, they lose much of their power. And when you master the specific antidote for each one, you gain access to levels of performance and peace of mind that most people never experience. Think of these obstacles like locks, and what I'm about to share are the keys. Each one requires a different approach, a different key. Try to use the wrong key and you'll just waste energy. But use the right one and the path forward becomes clear. As we explore each obstacle, I want you to try and think about which ones resonate most and strongly with you. Which ones have been holding you back? Understand your personal pattern is the first step towards breaking free from it. Let's begin with the first and most often challenging obstacle, uncontrolled desires. The first obstacle, uncontrolled desires, might seem obvious at first. We all know what it feels like to crave something, but I'm not just talking about the obvious desires: food, shopping, scrolling through social media, drugs, smoking, or alcohol, or any other kind of addiction. I'm talking about something far more fundamental. In our modern world, we're bombarded with more temptations than any other humans in history. Let that sink in. And let me repeat that again. In our modern world, we're bombarded with more temptations than any set of humans throughout our history. The average person checks their phone 262 times per day. That's once every 5.5 minutes. And each time we're feeding a deeper hunger for validation, for distraction, for escape. Let me share something personal. Years ago, I was caught up in a cycle that might sound familiar. Every night, I'd promise myself that tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow, I'd focus. Tomorrow, I'd resist distractions. Tomorrow, I'd finally start that important project. But each morning, I'd wake up and immediately reach for my phone. One quick check turned into an hour of scrolling. One small snack turned into mindless eating. One YouTube video turned into a 3, 4, 5, 6 hour binge. Here's what I didn't understand then. These weren't just bad habits, they were symptoms of a deeper pattern. A pattern that ancient wisdom identified thousands of years ago. When our desires around us control us, rather than us controlling them, we become slaves to our impulses. Modern neuroscience shows exactly why this happens. Every time we give in to an impulse, our brain releases dopamine, the reward chemical. Over time, we're not just fighting our desires, we're fighting our own brain chemistry. But here's the good news. Understanding this pattern is the first step to breaking free from it, and the solution isn't what most people think. The solution isn't willpower. It's not about gritting your teeth and forcing yourself to resist. That's why most people fail. Because whatever you resist persists. They try to fight their desires head on, and eventually willpower runs out. Instead, the answer lies in something much more subtle, a fundamental shift in how we can relate to our desires. So think of desires like a river. You can't stop the flow, but you can build channels to direct it. Let me share 3 powerful principles I learned that changed everything. First, every desire is trying to meet a legitimate need of ours. When you feel the urge to scroll mindlessly through social media, you're not really craving the scroll. You're craving the connection, or perhaps an escape from discomfort. Second, desires lose their power when you observe them without resisting or reacting. The next time you feel craving, instead of fighting it or giving in, just watch it, notice where you feel it in your body, and get curious about it. And third, and this was game changing for me, replace the desire with a deeper one. When I feel the pull of a distraction now, I remind myself of my deeper desire for mastery, for growth, and for genuine contribution. Let me show you how this works in practice. Let's say you're working on an important project and you feel the urge to check your phone. Here's the step-by-step process. Pause and name the desire. I'm feeling the urge to check my phone. Locate it in your body. Where do you feel the tension in your body? Ask yourself, what am I really seeking here? And finally, connect with your deeper desire. I want to create something meaningful. This isn't just a theory. When you practice this consistently, something remarkable happens. The power of surface level desires begins to fade. You start operating from a place of choice rather than compulsion. But here's what's crucial to understand. This isn't about becoming some emotionless robot who never desires anything. It's about becoming someone who can sit with their desires, understand them, and choose consciously where to act on them. Because true freedom isn't the absence of desires, it's the ability to choose which ones we follow. Now, this leads us directly into our second obstacle, which is actually the flip side of desires. While our first obstacle was about what we chase, our second obstacle, internal resistance, is about what we run from. And in many ways, this is even more subtle and dangerous. Think about the last time you had something important to do. Maybe it was a presentation, a difficult conversation, or even just starting a workout. You knew exactly what needed to be done, but something inside of you just resisted. The resistance shows up in 3 ways: procrastination, self-sabotage, and this is one I struggled with a lot, and what psychologists call productive procrastination. This one definitely applied to me. Keeping yourself busy with less important tasks to avoid the essential ones that you know you'll benefit from. And this is just a general example. You can be sitting at your desk one evening, staring at a blank document. You've got a crucial project due, but instead of working on it, you spend 3 hours organizing your inbox. That wasn't laziness, it was just resistance. Here's what's fascinating though. When we face resistance, our brain actually registers it as physical pain. That's why we'll do almost anything to avoid that uncomfortable feeling. Studies show that the same brain regions activate when we're experiencing physical pain or tackling a challenging task. But here's the secret that changed everything for me. Resistance isn't your enemy, it's actually a compass pointing directly at what matters the most. The stronger the resistance, the more important the task usually is for your growth. Think about building muscle. The resistance of the weights is what creates the strength, and without it, there's no growth. The same principle applies to mental and emotional growth. So let's share 3 powerful techniques for working with resistance. First, the 5-4-3-2-1 method. Instead of just waiting for motivation, count down from 5 and move at 1. This bypasses the overthinking that feeds the resistance. Second is what I call resistance mapping. When you feel stuck, grab a piece of paper, write down exactly what you're resisting. Be specific. Usually it's not the entire task, it's one small aspect of it. And third, the most powerful of all, the minimum viable action. Instead of tackling the whole task, identify the smallest possible step that you could take. Make it so small it seems ridiculous. Want to write a book? Start with 1 sentence. Want to get fit? Start with 1 push-up. Just 1 push-up. But as long as you're working towards it consistently, that's what matters. Here's what's crucial to understand. The goal isn't to eliminate resistance. That's impossible. It's not even desirable. The goal is to develop a new relationship with it. Every great achievement in history came with resistance. Every masterpiece, every breakthrough, every transformation required facing and moving through resistance. It's not an obstacle to your path. It is the path. So let me share something that most people don't realize about resistance. It actually operates in cycles. Understanding these cycles is like having a map through difficult terrain. Think of it like waves in the ocean. The resistance builds, peaks, and if you stay with it long enough, it always subsides. But most people quit at the peak, right before the breakthrough. And I discovered this the hard way. For years, whatever resistance showed up, I'd either fight it or flee from it. Both strategies failed. Fighting only made it stronger, and fleeing just postponed the inevitable. So here's what actually works. I call it the stay protocol. When you feel resistance, track, notice where you feel it in your body, accept it. Don't try and change it or fight it. Yield to it. Move forward with the resistance, not against it. So let's say you're facing a difficult task. Instead of immediately distracting yourself or forcing yourself through it, try this. First, pause and acknowledge. I'm feeling the resistance right now. Second, locate it physically in your body. Third, breathe into that sensation and allowing it to be there. And finally, take 1 small step forward while carrying that feeling. What makes this approach so powerful is that it works with your biology, not against it. When you fight resistance, you trigger your threat response, making everything harder. When you practice stay, you remain in your responsive brain, where real change is possible. This isn't just about getting things done, it's about building a fundamentally different relationship with discomfort, because the quality of your life is directly proportional to the amount of uncertainty and discomfort that you can handle. Remember, resistance isn't a sign that you're doing something wrong, it's a sign that you're doing something important. Now, while resistance is about what we avoid, our third obstacle, mental dullness, is about what dims our inner fire. So the third obstacle is mental dullness. It might sound less dramatic than our previous obstacles, But make no mistake, this is the silent killer of potential. It's not just about feeling tired or lazy, it's about that foggy state where everything feels heavy. You know those days where your brain feels like it's moving through mud? Where even the simple tasks feel overwhelming? When you can't seem to just get started, not because of resistance, but because you just feel, well, flat. I used to think I was just a low energy person myself. I'd watch others attacking their goals with enthusiasm while I struggled to find any kind of motivation at all. Think about your mind like a sword. Mental dullness is like the rust accumulating on the blade. You can still use a rusty sword, but it won't cut cleanly, it won't serve its purpose effectively. The solution isn't what most people think. It's not about forcing yourself to become more energetic. Instead, it's more about understanding the factors that create mental clarity. So, the first thing is your physical foundation. The second thing is your energy management. And the third is your mental environment. So, let's discuss the physical foundation. The research on this is crystal clear. And these things are very, very obvious. And there are people on YouTube that are much better placed than me to talk about these things in more detail. So with the physical foundation, brain's performance is tied to sleep quality, nutrition, movement, breathing patterns. Let me start with the protocol that transformed my mental clarity, and it's the CLAIR system. So the C is for cold exposure. Even a 30-second cold shower can instantly sharpen your mind. L, light exposure. 10 minutes of morning sunlight resets your circadian rhythm. E, energetic movement. Not exercise, but we're talking about dynamic movement that wakes up your nervous system. A, active breathing. A specific breathing pattern I'll show you in a moment. R, rhythmic focus. Using sound or movement to establish mental rhythm. But here's what's crucial. This isn't just about morning routines. Mental dullness can hit at any time. So let me share 3 spot treatments that you can instantly use when fog sets in. First, the box breathing reset. So you inhale for 4 counts, you hold for 4, you exhale for 4, and then you hold for 4 again. Do this for 1 minute and watch how quickly your mind sharpens. Second are movement snacks. Instead of trying to push through mental dullness, stand up and do 20 seconds of fast jumping jacks, 20 seconds of cross-body movements, 20 seconds of rapid marching. The key is intensity, not duration. We're waking up your nervous system, not working out. Here's why this works. Mental dullness often comes from neural fatigue. Your brain, like any complex system, needs to oscillate between focus and diffuse modes. When we honor this rhythm, instead of fighting it, we actually enhance our mental clarity. But here's something even more important here. Mental dullness isn't about biology, it's about a signal that we're disconnected from purpose. When you're deeply engaged in meaningful work, mental clarity tends to follow naturally. I've seen people transform their entire relationship with mental energy by understanding this. So remember, mental dullness isn't your natural state, it's a temporary condition that you can shift when you have the right tools. Your natural state is one of clarity and alertness. So restlessness, that constant buzz of agitation, that feeling that you can't quite settle into anything. Your body's here, but your mind is somewhere else. In our hyper-connected world, restlessness has reached epidemic levels. The average person now has an attention span of just 8 seconds. That's less than a goldfish. We're constantly jumping between tasks, thoughts, and stimuli, never fully engaging with any of them. On top of that, in the corporate world, having the ability to multitask is actually celebrated than actually working or focusing on one thing at a time. I remember sitting down to meditate for the first time. 5 minutes felt like torture. Mine was like a drunk monkey swinging from thought to thought. Projects, worries, random memories, future plans, all competing for attention. What's fascinating is that the brain scans show restlessness isn't just psychological. It creates a distinct neural signature. When we're restless, our default mode network, the part of the brain that's associated with mind wandering, becomes overactive, while our attention networks become fragmented. But here's what nobody tells you about restlessness. It's not the enemy. In fact, it's often a sign of untapped creative energy. The key isn't to eliminate restlessness, it's to harness it. Think of your mind like water. Restlessness is like a choppy waves on the surface. The water isn't the problem, it's the agitation. When we learn to settle the waves, we don't just lose the water's power, we make it more useful. So stay with me. This is a very heavy video and I intended it to be that way, so that you can come back and go through it over and over again and just learn as much as you can from it, because there's a lot of information here. Staying on the topic of restlessness, the first principle is what I call intentional anchoring. Most people try to fight restlessness by forcing themselves to focus. That's like trying to calm waves by slapping the water. It only creates more disturbance. Instead, try this. Choose one physical sensation as your anchor. It could be the feeling of your feet on the ground, the movement of your breath, the touch of your hands on your desk. Every time you notice restlessness, gently return to this anchor point. The second principle is productive channeling. Remember what I said about restlessness being untapped energy? Here's how to use it. When you feel that restless energy, instead of trying to sit still, try walking meetings, standing at your desk, movement-based problem solving, rhythm-based focus sessions. So here's a game-changing insight for you. Restlessness often marks a deeper issue, the fear of being present. The goal isn't to become a Zen master who never experiences restlessness. It's to develop a new relationship with this energy, to transform it from an obstacle into an ally. Because here's the truth. In a world that's constantly trying to distract you, learning to work with restlessness isn't just helpful, it's a superpower. And this brings us to our final obstacle, perhaps the most insidious of all, skeptical doubt. So skeptical doubt, not the healthy questioning that leads to growth, but that paralyzing inner voice that whispers, what if you're not good enough? What if you fail? What if this isn't the right path? This is the obstacle that stops most people before they even begin. Studies show that 70% of people struggle with imposter syndrome. So think about that. 7 out of 10 people question whether they deserve their achievements or are qualified to pursue their dreams. I remember standing in front of my first audience when I had to public speak for the first time. My heart was racing. I was sweating. That voice in my head was screaming, "Who are you to teach anyone anything?" That doubt was so intense, it felt physical, and it was physical. But here's what's changed everything for me. Understanding that doubt isn't a wall, it's a doorway. Every great achievement in history was accomplished by someone who felt doubt and moved forward anyway. There's 3 types of doubts that we need to understand. Cognitive doubt, which is, I don't know enough. There's emotional doubt, which, I don't feel ready. Existential doubt. What if none of this matters? But here's the crucial insight that most people miss. Doubt isn't the opposite of confidence. They're actually 2 sides of the same coin. If you go back to my earlier videos on the Hermetic principles, you'll understand this. So let me show you what I mean. When I finally understood this relationship between doubt and confidence, everything changed. Think about it. Confidence isn't the absence of doubt. It's the ability to act in its presence. Repeat that again. Confidence isn't the absence of doubt. It's the ability to act in its presence. Imagine a master tightrope walker. Do you think they ever feel doubt? Of course they do. But they've learned to dance with it, to use it as feedback rather than let it paralyze them. So let me share the 3 most powerful tools I've discovered for transforming doubt into fuel for growth. I call this the Doubt Alchemy Protocol. So first, evidence stacking. Every time doubt hits, pull out what I call a victory log. This isn't just positive thinking, it's concrete evidence of past successes. When doubt says you can't, your evidence says but I already have. Second, the doubt dialogue. Instead of trying to silence the doubting voice, engage it. What exactly are you afraid of? What's the worst that can happen? What would you do if that happened? This transforms vague anxiety into specific challenges that you can address. But the third technique is the most powerful and it's counterintuitive. I call it doubt surfing. When doubt hits, instead of fighting it, amplify it. Take it to its absolute extreme until it becomes absurd. Let's say you're doubting whether to start a business. Push the doubt to its limit. What if I fail completely? What if I lose everything? What if I end up living in a cardboard box? Something fascinating happens when you do this. The doubt often collapses under its own weight, revealing what you really care about. This works because it engages your prefrontal cortex, the rational part of your brain, breaking the emotional spiral of doubt. But here's something even more important that's happening. When you learn to work with doubt this way, you discover that doubt isn't trying to stop you, it's trying to prepare you. It's highlighting areas that need attention, questions that need answers, and skills that need development. But here's the ultimate truth about doubt. It's not just a bug in the system, it's a feature. It's your mind's way of saying, this matters enough to get right. When you understand this, doubt becomes a compass pointing towards growth, not a wall that's blocking your path. Every doubt is an invitation to become stronger, more prepared, and more resilient. Remember, the goal isn't to become fearless, it's to become courageous. And courage isn't the absence of doubt, it's what happens when you honor your commitment more than your comfort. Now that we've explored all of the 5 obstacles, let's bring everything together and see how they interconnect. We've journeyed through the 5 universal obstacles that stand between you and your highest potential. But this isn't just about understanding these obstacles. It's about what happens next. It's about who you become in the process of facing them. Think back to where we started earlier in the video. The uncontrolled desires that pull us off course. The resistance that holds us back, the mental dullness that dims our fire, the restlessness that scatters our focus, and the doubt that makes us question everything. These aren't just challenges to overcome, they're invitations to evolve. Each obstacle is a doorway to a stronger version of yourself. But here's what I want you to understand. The journey isn't meant to be walked alone. The greatest myth of self-mastery is that it's a solitary path. It's not, and it never has been. So that's why on this channel, I'm going to be building something special. It's going to be a community of people committed to this journey of transformation, people who understand that true growth happens in communion with others who are walking the same path. When you join our community, you're not just getting information, you're becoming part of a movement of people who refuse to settle for mediocrity, who understand that the greatest battle isn't out there in the world, with all the distractions in the media, all of the wars that are going on, all of the external problems. It's the one that we fight every day in our own minds. It's our internal world. So what I'm about to share isn't just another program or a platform. It's the beginning of a movement, a community of people committed to real transformation. Imagine being part of a space where every challenge you face is an opportunity for growth. Your struggles become stepping stones, not just stumbling blocks. Your journey inspires others, just as their journey inspires you. I'm sharing this vision with you because I've experienced firsthand how powerful community and like-minded people can be. When I started this journey, I thought it was something I had to do alone, that self-mastery meant isolation. I was wrong. The truth is, the greatest transformations happen when we're surrounded by others who understand the path that we're on, who speak the same language of growth, and who speak the same language of possibility. So this is why I'm creating a space for exactly this kind of transformation. On my Instagram at 33mastery, TikTok, same handle, 33mastery, and this YouTube channel, all the links are given below. We'll be exploring these concepts in greater depth. We'll be sharing real, unfiltered journeys of transformation, We're going to be building a community of people who are committed to self-mastery, creating daily content that actually moves the needle. Let me be clear, this isn't just about following someone else's path. It's about finding your own way, supported by ancient wisdom, modern science, and modern understanding. It's about becoming the author of your own transformational story. So here's what I want you to do right now. First, if this message resonated with you, if you felt something stir inside of you during this video, take a moment to like and subscribe. It really helps me out. Not just to grow numbers, but because we're building something real here. Every week on YouTube, we're going to be diving deep into practical applications of ancient principles, real challenges and how to overcome them, advanced techniques for self-mastery, and we'll be addressing questions from people just like you who are on this journey. But here's what I'm excited about. In the coming months, we're going to be creating spaces for direct interaction, live sessions where we can explore these concepts together, places where you can share your challenges and victories with others who understand without judgment. Because this isn't just about consuming content, it's about creating transformation. It's about building a movement of people who are committed to becoming the fullest expression of themselves. If you're ready to begin this journey, if you're tired of fighting these battles alone, join us. Comment below with "I'm ready" and share one obstacle that you're committed to transforming. And as always, please like and share the video and subscribe to the channel because it will really help me out, and hopefully we can grow this community into something special. Before we close, I want to share something deeply personal. When I encountered these ancient principles of self-mastery, I was skeptical. I thought that they were too simple because the steps and the action points that I've given you are very simple to do. So I was skeptical. I thought that this is too basic to create real change. But what I discovered is that the most profound transformation often comes from the simplest truths. And this is something that you're going to find me repeating over and over and over again. The most profound transformations often come from the simplest truths. The 5 obstacles we explore today, they're not just concepts. They're the very things that shape our daily experience. They determine whether we live a life of reaction or a life of purpose. So think about this tomorrow morning when you wake up. You'll face these exact same obstacles: the pull of distraction, the weight of resistance, the fog of dullness, the scatter of restlessness, and the whisper of doubt. But now you'll face them differently because now you understand them. Now you have the tools to work with them. And most importantly, you won't be facing them alone. I'm committed to showing up here every week, sharing everything I learn, every insight, every breakthrough, every setback, because this is a journey of self-mastery. Remember, every master was once a beginner. Every expert was once a novice. The only difference? They started, they committed, and they persisted. Your journey of self-mastery begins now, not tomorrow. Not when you feel ready, not when the conditions are perfect, right now. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay strong, stay committed, and most importantly, stay on the path.